The Zacks rank, value, momentum, growth, and income all factor into Zacks rank buys.
More value stocks identified now from our value stock strategist, Tracey Ryniec. And that's your job. You go out on that value stock radar.
That's right.
And dig deep to find these stocks
I
that
do.
bring investor value.
Yeah.
You've got two more today. One is a relatively known name, Intel.
Yep, everybody knows those guys, the largest chip maker in the world.
Yep.
Some might consider it kind of a boring name just because, you know, what their business is.
Or because they've been around so long?
Yeah, they've just been around. They're not glamorous anymore. But, you know, it is still a steady business and the earnings are rising.
Yeah.
So, and the shares are cheap. They're only trading a little over 12 times, which is, you know, even with the market pullback, still cheaper than the overall market. And estimates are going in the right direction. The analysts are somewhat bullish about Intel going forward here. Now, 2/3 of their business is still derived from PCs, and that market, as you know, is like not good. It's still on the decline.
Yeah.
And they also have a lot of business in areas that the economies are on the decline, like in China. But they have made inroads into diversifying their business, so they're more into memory now, and they have this big data center business that the analysts like a lot and have been upgrading the stock because of this data center. And then they're getting into those reality headset area.
The virtual reality?
Yeah, they have some technology that's good for that, you know, they will be marketing out to other manufacturers. So there's that aspect. So they got some stuff in the hopper, and you can see estimates, as I said, rising a bit here. There's Zacks rank number 2. Not a lot of earnings growth this year, only about 4%, and then another maybe 7 to 8% next year, but they are, you know, massive companies. So 7 to 8% earnings growth isn't too bad for, you know, again, a company of this size.
Decent dividend.
Yeah, 3.4%. So you are getting rewarded to, you know, be patient while they're getting into these other business areas.
Right.
And then you can see the chart. They did have the sell-off like everybody else did in 2016. They are off the lows, but the shares are still cheap. So I do like Intel at this level.
Another one that you've identified is one of those obscure airline holding companies.
Kind of.
Copa Holdings.
Right. It's obscure if you've never gone to, you know, Central or Latin America, because they are one of the bigger airlines down in that part of the world. They're headquartered in Panama. That's their main hub. And they do fly quite a few flights into the United States, actually. So, and if you're planning on going, you know, maybe to Colombia or Ecuador, you likely may connect through that Panama hub there.
Yeah.
So one of their issues is they've been growing quickly because middle class has been growing in all of that region. So they've seen big growth. They now have about 100 jets. That's pretty good size. They used to be code share with United, and now they've busted off and they have their own frequent flyer program. All these things are good, but they've kind of struggled in the last year because they had big business in Venezuela, and as we know, things aren't that good there, and a lot of the airlines have had trouble getting the cash that they had there out of the country. Like they won't let them take it out now. They have about 400 million, a little bit over 400 million there, and pretty much that's probably going to be written off.
Really?
Yeah, and a lot of the other big U.S. airlines that also flew into Venezuela have had to write it off, and they already wrote it off last quarter. Copa hasn't written it off yet, but they recently revised their dividend payment program and how they pay the dividend, so that if they have to mark down, which they probably will, all of that cash, it won't affect their dividend payment, which also is a nice little yield.
It's an equally nice dividend,
around 3.4 as well.
Right.
So the dividend appears to be safe now that they've redone that program, but they probably will be marking down that cash. But, you know, that gets rid of one of the issues that has been plaguing this stock is what about Venezuela? And they'll just be able to move on from there because they do have, you know, entrance into these great markets like Mexico and Colombia that's also growing its economy quite quickly. So there is growth still there. You can see the estimates are on the rise here. They gave better than expected guidance for 2016. Some of the analysts aren't true believers, but they're raising their estimates anyways. They're a little bit more optimistic on operating margins and on what the fuel could be at. So we'll just have to see as the year goes on. But again, these shares are also pretty cheap. They really took a beating over the last 2 years. They're off these lows now, like everything else is. but still around 12 times. I consider that pretty cheap for these. You're also getting the dividend, as we said. So if they pull, if they have a downturn again, I like them even more again. But this is an area and part of the world where there's a lot of growth, and that is expected to continue, even though we have a little bit of weakness right now. But going forward the next couple of years, things look good in Central and South America.
And even though I called them obscure, they are large enough to sustain this money issue, right?
Oh yeah, they have about $1 billion in cash, 400 of which is in Venezuela that they're going to have to write off. So yeah, that aspect of it is good. And like I said, they are in one of the a good hub city down in Panama, and that gives them access to both North and South America.
All right, do you own either one of these?
I do not.
All right, check out more stock information. It's on our website, Zacks.com, so if you haven't been there in a while, or you're not there now watching this video, you can get on over to the homepage and you can access a lot of varied stock information right off the homepage. Don't forget also, if you're watching these videos that we do on the YouTube platform, there's where you can subscribe to them and even comment on them, and the feedback's welcome. With Tracey, I'm Terry Ruffalo.